Good morning,
And
sir.
good morning to you.
How are you?
I'm doing well. How are you? Are you glad you didn't stay in and put on some stars and have to go to the all call yesterday?
This week has been such an exciting week. I can't remember if I shared with you or not. Monday, right? I went to ODU and got a chance to see Admiral Sam Paparo speak there at his alma mater, right? And
Oh,
it
okay.
was on international relations, and I think it was very a timely opportunity for the university to invite him to come and do this. I think I wasn't in these conversations, but that engagement preceded obviously what went down Tuesday, as we're talking current events, right? With all the senior leadership up at Quantico, talking with the secretary, right? On some morale enhancing, changes, I guess. So I thought it was
Yeah.
was interesting all around. So,
Right, right.
yeah, for our
Well,
listeners, right? Current events, here we are, right? So, yeah.
yeah, I mean, it's like what obviously everybody's got things to talk about on the all the current events that have been happening over the last few years. It's been wild and part of me wants to talk about some of that stuff on this show, as it relates to the military retiree getting out.
Right.
But at the same time, what we've found is, stay in your swim lane, as you like to say all the time. And I think we've discovered, for what at least you and I do, listen, the focus is what can you control right now? You're
Right.
getting out of the military, you're looking for a new opportunity. Yeah, you got to stay aware of global economic factors. Is that job still going to be there? How am I
Right.
planning for my retirement? But that stuff always ebbs and flows with whatever's going on in the world and the economy. So not as useful to talk to current events, other than just
Yeah.
it's you know
Hey, and
poke.
I guess if we're starting a counter, right? Day one on the government shutdown. So who knows how
Yeah,
long this
I
will.
am curious, how obviously for government employees, that's a factor.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts for the contracting world and secondary effects? Does that occur? I mean, this isn't the first time
Um,
government shutdowns had happened. Everybody
no,
always freaks out
no.
every time it happens. Are we going to lose our VA benefits? Are we going to lose? Is the pension going to stop? We
Well,
kind of over
for
assume what that
members,
means.
right? For members as they're stepping into their career progression. I did reach out. I had conversations yesterday with Mantech, talked to Steve Weeman at Booz and some other leaders there as far as, what does this look like? And I think there are some larger companies, right, that have billable work that's already paid for, right? That that work is going to continue, and I think there will be, again, depending on how long this goes on for, right, little to no disruption for some of these companies. But as I write my 2026 schedule, as I write the schedule for Blue Water 2026, right, we have a number of organizations that are looking to utilize funds to secure Blue Water to travel and support them for a cohort on site. Places out in San Diego, the Naval Leadership and Ethics Command out there, NOC TSD again back down in Orlando. And I already know if I were to reach out as we're in the new fiscal year now and say, hey, I'm going to provide you an invoice for services requested, that wheel is not going to turn, right? You're in a government shutdown. There's a freezing of funds, expenditures, things like this. So it's going to have a little bit of an effect on us, I would imagine, right here for a short while until this gets
Yeah.
resolved. But this too will pass, right? We'll figure this out. It's sad to say that we are becoming a little bit experienced in this realm when the government shuts down on how to navigate this space, right? So I say that it's sad, right, that we even have to go through this at all. So not to turn this into that kind of discussion, but it's a little bit current events, right? Kind of where we're all at. So
Yeah, just want to, let people know when they, if they want to talk to us, we're obviously paying attention to all that stuff. And so, ask us questions. There's a lot of stuff in the health and medical
sure.
realm that's come down recently. And that's, that comes into my field. It comes up a lot in the life insurance space.
Yeah.
How do things affect it? So always happy to have those conversations one-on-one.
So I
And
will tell you, I did receive a little bit of which I thought was just completely amazing. At the end of the speaking engagement on Monday, I got a chance to, and I've known Admiral Paparo for a number of years, and so I got a chance to kind of catch up with him, and it's just amazing to me that this guy can have the weight of the world on his shoulders, right? As he is the commander, in Indo-PACOM. It's about 60% of the world, right? That he's just kind of dealing with a large chunk, a large footprint there. And immediately he just came right up. And would you believe it? He just goes, "Hey, Mike, great to see you. Want to continue to thank you for all you and the Blue Water team are doing, right? It's
wow.
important, right?" And I'm just like, I mean, that was words, first words right out of his mouth. And and we had a brief discussion, and he made a point. He goes, "Hey, listen, the value of our senior leaders in uniform does not stop the second that they are done serving." And
Mhm.
his point was, we need them now more than ever before in industry, in government contracting, in defense industry. And he says, and if it takes 7 or 8 months, that's 7 or 8 months that we are less of a strong, healthy nation. We need to figure out how to get them there that much quicker so that they can raise the bar and deliver results on arrival, right? And I said, "Well, we're working that, Emerald. We track it." I said, "We're doing the best we can." And he said, "Thank you for doing that." Right. And I just love the way he phrased that. Like, and to a certain degree, he's right. Like, you've invested, or the nation has invested 10, 20, 30, 35 plus years in these individuals. Now more than ever before, let's get them right into industry, get them plugged in, and continuing to deliver results and raise the bar for the home team that they left, if that's what they
Yeah.
choose to pursue, right?
Yeah.
And I just appreciated the comment. It was touching. I just appreciated connecting with him and that he was aware of what we were doing. So it was good.
No, that's very cool. It actually reminds me of something I wrote about in my first book, The Veteran's Guide to Life, Liberty, and Purpose. So at least
Yeah,
my brain. A lot of people go through this. They're getting out of the military. They're kind of having a lot of revelations of the experience. And at the time, I was learning about the world of entrepreneurship and small
right.
business, and I was like, a lot of these small businesses out there could use the leadership coming out of the
Absolutely.
retiring senior leaders, and it'd be a place for them to find a sense of purpose again. And I was like, at the time I was, and still to this day, it's like, no, our country needs you
Yeah.
to continue to be a leader. So whatever industry you go in,
Make it
um
strong. Bring your
right,
leadership, right?
not
Yeah.
not
Drive it.
not to discourage people from having to go reclimb the ladder again. And that's kind of a little bit of the point of today's conversation, about setting
Yeah.
expectations. But, that sense of service and duty that everybody says they want to keep on doing. It's like, oh yeah, it's needed out there. Unfortunately, it's not just a billet. It's not a
Yeah.
rank anymore. You've got to really, find your way to fit in, and continue that leadership role.
Absolutely.
And so give yourself the grace and the time to do that. And part of it comes from, we always talk about it, networking, exploring, what are the
Exactly.
opportunities. The best way to find out where the needs are for leadership is to grow your network, have conversations, get ideas. Oh, what'd this person do? How'd they get there? What were the steps to get there? And so,
networking is so important
mhm,
in this adventure, right? This next phase of life. It's as we like to say, it is the single most important thing that you will engage in that will be responsible for turning your vision of success into reality. It all is going to center around
mhm.
networking, right?
And the strategy I like to talk about is, rather than just, yes, go have 1,000 cups of coffee or whatever,
Mhm.
standard strategy, have your elevator pitch, those are all the other things. I like to come at it from an idea of just genuine curiosity. So
Yes.
be as curious as possible to talk to anybody, prior military or otherwise. In fact, lean into the non-prior military, and try to have those conversations that are just going to help you
Yeah.
spark ideas of what's out there, rather than coming from the expectation of, well, they're probably looking for a senior leader, let's see if they want me, and just waiting for
Yeah.
something to happen or waiting for an introduction. So speaking of introductions, that was when we kind of wanted to drill into today, because you know that's part of the tactics
Yeah.
of, all right, how do I get introductions? When an introduction is made, should I be making introductions myself as I'm
Sure.
gathering my own database of people and resources I meet? So yeah, we wanted to
I,
dive into that a little bit today, Mike.
I just love this topic and because it is so important, right, to members, and it's important in so many different facets. Uh, I think to start the conversation, one of the, if I could stereotype here just for a little bit, one of the most common, um, things we hear from members, and I smile because each member that presents this question or this commentary believe in their heart that they're the only one in this position, right? And the comment typically comes and it sounds something like this: Mike, I have no idea what I want to do when I grow up, right? For the first time, I'm stepping out and I know that's probably kind of unusual, but I'm not really sure, what I want to do and where I'm going to find fulfillment. And I'm like, are you kidding me? That's the single most probably, common, bit of commentary that we hear from members coming to us. Nobody knows really. You spent your life and 30 years in service. Of course, you probably don't have a great idea of what you want to do or what's going to bring fulfillment. But let's bring the discussion back to networking. Networking, so often our members look at networking and they go, "Hey, Scott, allow me to introduce myself. My name's Mike. Hey, at US Vet Wealth, Scott, do you have any job openings? Man, I'm looking for work. Can you hire me?" And, so many of our members just want to gravitate towards that frontal assault.
Mhm.
And you and I know more often than not, the frontal assault is not how to go about this, right? Um, People are strange animals. The second that they start to realize that you're wanting something from them, right? They get a little bit standoffish, right? And that's human nature. But the networking discussion really at its infancy, at the beginning, doesn't really have anything to do with finding a job. And I just want to be really clear about that. Like my first discussion with you, Scott, might sound something like this: a line of questioning. Scott, thanks for making the time to talk today. Um, would you mind sharing your story? How is it that you found success with US Vet Wealth?
Mhm.
In other words, tell me your story. In other words, I'm going to get you to talk about yourself and I'm going to listen. And then I'm going to ask other leading questions because keep in mind, I have no idea what I want to do in life, right? I really don't. So I'm going to ask you a question like, Scott, what do you enjoy most about your job at US Vet Wealth? Hey, Scott, what do you least enjoy about the work you're doing today? Hey, Scott, if you could do it all over again, would this be where you would, what you would pursue and where you would see yourself landing? Right? Ask those leading questions. So, as a new person stepping into career progression, I'm asking those leading questions because I want to understand at the end of our conversation, hey, could I see myself doing what Scott does or not? Right? I'm trying it on for size. You with
Mhm.
me? I mean, I'm trying to live vicariously through you, and I'm trying early on to assess if this is something that I want to pursue. So at the end of our conversation, I can go, you know what? I could see myself doing what Scott does. I mean, I really do. I know Scott, his background, the skill sets play well to this. I could see myself doing this. And so I'm going to put that in the keep pile. Or I'm going to go, you know what? There's no way in the world I'm doing what Scott does. That is just, after hearing him talk about that, I'm not doing that. Right. And
Yeah.
I'm going, okay, I'm going to move on. So, what do you think about that line of questioning, which is completely different if you were to take this use case example and fast forward it 5 months, 4 months, where I'm going, hey, Scott, I want to have a conversation. I saw a position description in US Vet Wealth that is open, and I was wondering if I could get your thoughts on, hey, my hard and soft skills and how well of a fit and good of a fit do you think they would be for this role? I'm really excited about the company. I am pursuing them, and I'm just so thrilled at an opportunity where I could find myself coming and helping the home team there, right? And a completely different line of questioning, right? Here's an objective. I've targeted the company and I want to pursue it. Up front, I just kind of want to feel it out. Hey, I don't know if this is for me or not, right? What do you
Yeah.
think?
Yeah.
Makes
Well,
sense?
no, absolutely. I mean, it comes down to a lot of the I've read all the sales strategy books. If you're going to be a
Yeah.
salesman, the whole point is, and that's what you're trying to do. You're trying to sell yourself to somebody.
Yeah.
And the number one rule is don't sell anything. Build a genuine relationship, and
Exactly.
that means getting to know
Exactly.
the person as a human being and being human yourself,
Yeah.
and trying to find a point of mutual interest. If you can, on their LinkedIn profile, you'll notice something to talk about,
Sure. Yeah.
or try to dig in, or maybe from the introduction. And we'll get back to the types of introductions here in a minute. But I'm trying to find something where use. And if you haven't, read Dale Carnegie's book, How to Win Friends and Influence People.
Sure.
And then there's a number of other great relationship building sales strategy type books, and they're all gonna you know give you ideas on types of questions to ask. But a lot of time it's just, hey, where are you from, where you grow up, what was
Yeah.
your background, oh, what did your parents do. Try to find something that's going to allow the conversation to just be genuine for 5 or 10 minutes. That's
I,
fine. It doesn't always have to be down to business, because eventually, yeah, they're going to tell you about their thing. And maybe just, again, rather than only limiting yourself to would the job he's doing be the right one for me, or is that something I definitely don't want to do?
yeah.
Maybe you're just coming out of it with oh, okay, now I know that exists.
Exactly.
It's like,
And
that's it.
the
But
word and the way you describe it, it's genuine, it's real. And I love how you say that. Don't sell anything, just be authentic. Be curious, learn and be curious, show an interest, encourage the person you're talking to share insights about themselves. People
yeah,
love sharing insights about themselves, right?
yeah.
And that is really the keys to having a very successful informational discussion. I agree. I love the
Because
way.
the best way, at least the mindset going into, again, I'm not always going to claim the best way. So it's, you're going to find your way if you're doing this enough. But what I found makes me feel the most comfortable is I'm never going into a conversation where I have an expectation where I'm asking for something. Rather, I'm trying to give. I want to put myself in their
Yep.
shoes and say, what's in it for them? How can I help them? how can I be useful? Maybe being useful is, oh, they have a job description you'd fill. But, even on a personal level, they mentioned something like, well, yesterday I was mowing the yard and my lawnmower broke. And it's like, well, you know what? I happen to know I just bought this new lawnmower. I mean,
Exactly.
it can be as mundane as that. It's like, I love it, and,
Yep.
that's a genuine, here, I'll send you the link. A lot of times it's going to be more about like, oh,
Yeah.
I just read this book you might find interesting, or I listened to this podcast episode. And so, trying to have something to give back. And then it also helps with the follow-up that you should be doing afterwards, thanking for their time. And then, if there's someone that's looking for introductions, ask them that, hey, is there anybody you're looking to meet? I'll keep my eye out. Or as
Yep.
you're building up your own network, of course, you're going to know people. And so, trying to, find a way to be useful to the individual, not be, you don't
Absolutely.
want to shove stuff down their throat, of course, but if there's a genuine, like, oh, I can actually be helpful to this
Yep.
person, then a relationship, gets developed. And the whole point is just to be top of mind, be, rememberable.
Yeah.
Is that a word?
It is now. It is now. Right.
No, there used to be a way I'd say that. Now I forget it. But anyways, um, that's the best you can do when we're talking about, get back to the kind of types of introductions. It really comes in, is this a hot, a warm, or a cold contact? A cold contact would be, all right, I'm searching through LinkedIn. Here's another veteran at a corporation that I'd like to be talking with. I'm going to send a cold outreach, see if this person is willing to give me their time.
Yeah.
If you get, and your expectation for a cold outreach should be 1 in 10. 1 in 10.
We track it. Steve Weeman and I actually track that on cold calls. Your best grouping is 30%, right? Between
right.
2 and 3 out of 10. That's as good as what it's going to get, right? Cold calls, right?
And actually that gets back to, sales strategies. It's like, if the goal should be, eventually you get to the point where you're telling yourself, I know if I reach out to 10 people, 3 will respond. Probably 1 I end up having a genuine conversation with.
Sure. Yep.
Right. So 10, 3, 1 is your model. And so eventually you'll find out, well, how many calls did I have before someone said, you know what? I think you should apply for this job. So maybe you had to have 10 calls in order before you got one ask for, a genuine, like, okay, this is moving forward somewhere. I'm interested. You're interested. That means you had to do 100 cold outreaches.
Sure.
To have 30 responses, 10 genuine conversations, 1 potential. So, you're figuring out that math.
This is an important takeaway here in building the right mindset. And I want to drive home a couple of thoughts on this. Frequently, our members, they aren't of the right mindset, and the expectations aren't set when they step into the networking model. And what I mean by that is, it is not uncommon for our members. In fact, you and I had a conversation about a member in the networking realm that they will come to us, Mike, is there anybody in the Blue Water Network at company X, Y, or Z? Yes. Hey, I would like to have a conversation. Okay. Are you ready? Have you done your homework? Yep. Okay. Okay. You're connected. A couple days later, I'll come back and I go, hey, how did the conversation go with Scott at US Vet Wealth? Well, I had a conversation, Mike, but he didn't offer me a job. There's no job opportunity. And so, what do you have next? And I'm like, wait a minute. I don't know of any member that they're going to solve your future employment with one networking informational. You with me? I mean, and so we tell our members, I want you of the mindset that you're going to need to be networked wide and deep into a company. So what do I mean by that? I want you talking to people in the program management realm, quality, process, talent acquisition, recruiting, HR. I mean, I want you talking to people in a wide spectrum, right, of work in a company. And then I want you 2 to 3 people deep in each of those swim lanes. And inevitably, members will go, well, Mike, that's 7 and 3 or 4. That's like 30 points of contact in a company. And I'm like, yes, that's exactly what I'm talking about. You've done your market analysis. You've assessed this to be a good fit. And I am now targeting this company. Yes, I want you to meet a lot of people in that company and have meaningful conversations with everybody, right? A density, if you will, until something exciting happens inside the company. They now start to have conversations about you, right? They're generating that. Hey, I had a conversation with Scott too. Hey, me too. Scott called me the other day and we connected. Hey, what'd you think? Yeah, I thought he was pretty good. Yeah, I did. Hey, well, it's like I was looking at his background. Maybe he'd be a good fit over here. Well, I was thinking over here, right? You get those kind of conversations, and that doesn't happen with just one phone call. So often members will come back and they'll go, yeah, Mike, I connected. I have a conversation, but he didn't offer me a job. And so I guess that's a dead end. Like, no, right? That's contact informational number 1 of 13 more that I want you to build.
Yeah.
Case in point number 2, we always tell members, never, ever leave a networking informational discussion without a segue that sounds something like this. Scott, I really enjoyed our conversation today. Thank you very much for making the time to have this discussion. Is there anybody else inside the company that you would recommend that I be talking to? In other words, I don't want to let go of this connection until you hand me off to somebody else, right? That is what I'm going to try to drive that's success. Like if I get a follow-on point of contact out of you in this, you know what, Mike? Yeah, I really enjoyed the conversation too. Hey, yeah, I do know somebody on the process team down here. And if you'll give me a couple of days, I'd love to connect you to Steve down the way here. I think you and Steve could have a meaningful conversation.
Yeah.
Right.
And so that gets in.
Yeah. That
gets into the idea of the warm introduction. So whether that warm introduction just coming from a fellow veteran who's already out there, or from Blue Water directly, or you're coming off of a cold call, that you just reached out to somebody cold on LinkedIn, you're trying to get that second introduction. There's your warm introduction, and it might just be something, basic, like, so, a joint LinkedIn message saying, hey, just wanted to introduce you guys real quick. And so, that's where you got to take the initiative to follow up with that person individually. Or if somebody said they were going to make a warm introduction to you, it's been a couple of days, as part of the follow-up, hey, you said you were going to introduce me to Steve. Wondering if you could make a warm introduction, like ask them, oh, would you mind, because a lot of times people say, oh, you should talk to so-and-so and so-and-so. And so the next question should be, would you mind connecting me?
Yeah.
I'd really appreciate that.
Yeah. I love it. Right. And yeah, I guess what's the word I would say, members stepping into career progression or transition, right? You gotta be tenacious, right? You have to stay engaged, have the right mindset, know in your mind it's not going to be one connection and you're going to arrive at your next success. You're going to have to drive the outcome, right? More in the networking world is always better, right? More is always better.
Oh, actually, here's a great book I recommend, The 4 Agreements by Don Miguel Ruiz. I can never remember what the 4 agreements are, but the one is, don't make assumptions.
Right.
Like, don't take things personally. Like, if somebody doesn't respond or whatever, hey, leads go cold. Don't worry. Like, they got other things going on in their life. Don't make it about you.
Yeah.
Um, Obviously, always do your best is another one, and I know I'm going to forget the fourth one off the top of my head, but that's a great mindset book for, don't make assumptions of where this conversation is going to go, where the relationship's going to go. Hope for the best, but really just not taking it personally if somebody just kind of shrugs you off or doesn't seem like there's a connection there. Like, okay,
Yeah.
then you don't have to waste your time on that person anymore. If there's plenty of fish in the sea, right? so
Yeah.
that brings us to the hot lead. Like,
Okay.
hey, you need to talk to this person. They have a job. I think you'd be a good fit for it. Or you two sound just like this guy. I think you guys should chat. So maybe if there is like a definite job opportunity, like there's a reason this conversation is happening more than, what'd you do growing up. Still do
Right.
that stuff, still build the rapport.
Yeah.
But how any difference on, hey, I'm connecting to this person because they have an opening, they might be ready for an interview. Is it still, you want to be careful not to go in too hot, or how would you recommend your members approach that type of introduction?
I don't think the basic rules of the road change drastically, right? I mean, the frontal assault, even in a situation like that, um, is probably wouldn't be the recommended approach on this. Hey, Scott, I'm really excited. Heard you have a job for me. What's the job? I'm ready to start tomorrow. Put me in, coach. Let's let you know. Eh, probably not. But I would encourage individuals to show interest, right? And how do you show interest? Hey, Scott, thanks again for making the time, to meet today. I understand that the company is continuing to do well, growing and scaling. In fact, Scott, I recently uh, saw an opportunity, which is at the heart of what we're talking about today. I saw that the company has advertised a position description in and around this role and responsibility. And, perhaps you could share maybe just a little bit more information about that. Really excited to learn more about that area that the company is headed. Genuine interest, authentic, right? But not overly so, right? Hey, put me in, man. I'm ready. You bet. Send me the offer letter today. Let's wrap this up. The hard sell. Be authentic. Be, genuine. But here's the thing, and this is what I tell our members. In this discussion, remember, it's not really about you. It's more about them and the company that you're taking an interest in. The part that is about you is what you're going to do for them. And I know that's kind of a play on words and everything, but there is so much truth in that. Which we very rarely tell our members, the old school approach, have your elevator pitch. Hi, my name is Mike Wallace. I graduated Oregon State University. I entered the Navy in, summer of 1986. I attended flight school, blah, blah, blah. I was Naval Fighter Weapons School at Top Gun at this thing. I was primarily in the, and I'm going to give you my 45-second elevator pitch. That's what it's all about me. And while that may be, I don't know, mildly interesting to a hiring manager I'm talking to, what I encourage members to do is go, remember, look, it's not about you, it's about them. Hey, Scott, I was pleased to see that the company has expanded its operations to Malaysia, and I saw the role and responsibility for a director of operations in the Indo-Pacific region, and really excited to learn a little bit more about that. And Scott, I mean, I really think, a lot of prior experiences that I've got dealt with some of the challenges that the company's going through, and I'm really interested in learning you guys' approach and what it is you're looking for as you grow and expand in this area. In other words, I want to have a conversation about you, right? And somewhere in there, I'm going to mildly let you know that I think I'm a good fit for this, but I'm demonstrating that I'm a good fit because A, I know what your problems are. I know what your challenges are because I've done my homework. And now I'm going to be part of the answer and the solution set for you, right? Which is completely different than just stepping in and going, let me tell you all about me that may or may not be applicable to the issues you have, right? Because as a hiring manager, you're going to listen to somebody go through their elevator pitch and you're going to go, yeah, that sounded kind of cool, I guess. But you know what? At the end of the elevator pitch, you didn't tell me what kind of work you wanted to do. You didn't even tell me that if you understand what my problems and challenges are. In fact, I was already a little concerned about having this meeting, but now I'm really concerned. And so I'm kind of stepping back. You know what I mean? It's just a complete different approach. So leave the elevator pitch in the elevator. How you can demonstrate worth and value is do your homework on the company and the individual that you're meeting with and show them that you understand what their challenges are and show them that the skill sets, both hard and soft, that you're bringing to the table are going to help them and their team raise the bar and deliver results. That's what you want to pursue and how you want to pursue it, right?
Yeah.
Anyway, I get really passionate about it. Anyway, let me stop there. What are your thoughts? What do you think?
Yeah, no, I think you're spot on. It's just a matter of, knowing the conversation that you're going into.
Exactly.
And don't have the expectation like I got to find out if I'm a fit for this company, this role. Because actually, I just looked up the fourth agreement is be impeccable with your word. And
authentic,
what that,
right? Impeccable with your word. You're authentic. Yeah.
Yeah, you're authentic. And if you're, and being authentic would be saying like, hey, I'm not here to see if I'm a good fit for your company necessarily. I just want to get to know you and kind of learn more. If that's where you're at in that relationship, just be, don't lie to yourself either. And I think that's kind of the problem with elevator pitches, or like you always say, having a standard resume versus a targeted resume, saying, oh, here's all these things I did in the past, which may or may not be relevant. So, being,
right.
Authentic or honest with yourself about, where this conversation is going. And then sometimes you might talk to somebody who's kind of an introvert. They're not going to share a whole lot, might feel awkward, try not to waste their time and get off the call and move on to the next person.
What about
okay
people
too.
what about people that don't come back to you? Like, you've talked to them, thought you had a good conversation. It was maybe not a hot handoff, but maybe a warm handoff. And now all of a sudden they just kind of ghost you, or your perception is like, what do you do? How do you handle that?
I think, well, I've had so many of those, just, it just, you get used to, saying what you want to get out of a conversation is a yes or a no, not a maybe.
Yeah.
Right. And so now you don't have to ask that directly, but you're trying to tell yourself internally, like, is this a hard yes? Like, I'm continuing this relationship with this person.
Yeah.
For whatever reason. Or is it a hard no on your end? You want to try to avoid kind of a maybe. And so if it's a yes, then you have reasons to say, hey, I'm going to follow up with this person one way or the other. If I don't hear back from them, have a reason to follow up. Hopefully it's something where you remember something from the conversation and you can say, or you're making an introduction to somebody else to that person.
Yeah.
Right. Just anything that might, keep you top of mind so that they can likewise, when they're talking to somebody else and they're like, oh, I think you should meet Mike.
Yeah.
Right. That's the kind of the best you can do if it isn't like an actionable item type thing. Because we can't always, I mean, the way the world's moving these days, it's hard to remember who I talked to last week, if I didn't write it down. Right. So,
well, so that's an important thing in the networking world, noting who you chatted with, what the date was, and really what did you guys talk about? Just a brief, like just those refreshers. So you can go, man, I haven't heard from Scott in weeks. And then you look back at it and you go, oh, you know what? It's really only been 5 days.
And,
because,
I'd say why not use contact resource management software?
You can do that.
And
Absolutely.
there's hundreds of them out there.
Yep.
You don't need a paid version of one, but
Yep.
it's something where you can, gather notes on somebody, get their contact information. You can set up a funnel where you move
Yep.
them. All right, I've had the initial conversation, or this is somebody introduced, or they were referred to by this person. You can kind of connect them
Right.
and start to build out your own database of people. I mean, LinkedIn just doesn't do a good job of organizing your contacts that
You're
way. You
right.
got to
There
take it
are
into
a
your own
number of
database.
apps that are out there that will help in that regard, and that is important, right? To track, right, the frequency and when you establish contact and what company, et cetera, right,
Mhm.
and tracking those. So it's also really important as you're building out your wide and deep network within a company, to make sure that you understand that you're talking to multiple people within a company. So you want to be consistent. You with me? You would never want to present yourself in one light in a company and then somebody else in a different light in the same company. There is a better than average chance that those individuals come together on that side of the fence and have conversations, and if it does not line up, right, that can be somewhat problematic, right? And
Right.
but it's just something to think about. Yeah, I love the discussion, and this is probably one that we need to have frequently here because networking is so important in a
And
lot
it's
of different regards,
Yeah,
right?
and it's stressful. It takes a
It is.
mindset. It takes accepting, awkward situations and pauses, and maybe it takes some practice, just getting some reps in. Maybe you just need
Reps
to
and
chat with us,
yeah.
one on one, and get some thoughts on your approach if you're feeling like it's not working right for you. Um, but I guess that was gonna be my last question for you before we move on with our days. Um, how to actually have the conversation. These days, obviously, there's been the phone calls, an easy way to do it, but now with Zoom
Hmm.
or online or Microsoft Teams or whatever, that's a handy way to have a face to face,
Yeah.
save people a lot of time. But obviously, at the people appreciate a one on one conversation, sitting down for coffee and stuff. But then the risk there is you're now what could have been a 30-minute Zoom call is now going to be an hour and a half, 2 hours getting to the coffee shop. You're taking that away from the other person. You got to coordinate the time and place and all that. So,
Yeah.
but use those when you can or when it makes sense. But
Yep.
don't I've had a lot of people, local veterans, they just, want to get together and chat, which I'm always welcome to do.
Hmm.
But hey, let's
Hmm.
meet for a coffee. And that's nice for
Hmm.
me because I like getting out of the house. But by the end of it, I'm like, wow, that just took 2 or 3 hours by the end
Yeah.
of it. And
You know,
I don't know.
I
I don't
like
know what I got out of it.
no, I like a 3 to 1, right? Like, I'm gonna have um initial touch points with you. I'm gonna have initial conversations with you, either a phone call or a Teams or a Zoom.
Hmm.
But then once we establish a rapport, right? Then maybe finding some time for you to be respectful of their time and go to them and meet them at a convenient location face to face, right? In other words, work up to that. I think if that opportunity presents itself, I think that can be effective, right? And it kind of drives home, you're going to have multiple touch points with individuals over time, right?
Yeah.
Which is part of a strategy. Like Scott, you and I'll have a conversation, okay, networking, and then we're going to go our separate ways. And when I ask people, I go, well, hey, have you stayed in touch with Scott? And he goes, well, I had a conversation with him 10 days ago. I go, okay, well, what are some subtle ways to stay plugged in with your network? And social media makes it really nice, right? Like you can send an email, hey, Scott, just wanted to shoot you a quick email. Thanks again for meeting last week. Really enjoyed our discussion. Hey, I came across this article reference the industry and the company and what you guys are involved in. I thought you might find it interesting. Just wanted to send it to you for you to consume. I'm doing something for you, but at the same time, I'm letting you know, oh, hey, Mike is still kind of on the periphery, and I don't want to be so intrusive. And people go, well, how much is too much? And I'm like, man, that's kind of a little bit of an art thing, right? Certainly, if I'm sending you something every day to try to be intrusive, that's probably too much. I don't know. What is it? I mean, help me out here. Is it once every 10 days, 12 days? Just to let you know, hey, Scott, in our conversation, you mentioned you were interested in this kind of thing. I've got a good friend of mine who's a speaking engagement at ODU. Would you like to be my guest? I'm happy to take you, and you can listen to this pitch with me, right? Something you're like, whoa, okay, that's nice, right? You're looking for opportunities to do something for them to stay engaged with them.
Yeah.
Right?
One of the another book that was it's called Book Yourself Solid. It's for independent consultants to help fill their calendar with potential clients, right?
Yeah.
One of his tactics I always thought was the best was always have something to invite people to.
Yeah.
And he's saying, have your own weekly networking event or something like that.
Sure.
You're a happy hour. You can, hey, come to my happy hour next week. Now, not everybody can do that.
Yeah.
But maybe you're a part of another networking group. There's a lot of veteran Zoom calls out there. We're going to start our own. Jen and I have been working on that.
But invite them.
Invite them to the Blue Water. Doesn't have to be an event per se, but
for everybody listening, right? We got our Warriors Tap House event next Wednesday, 16:30.
Right.
So come on, we'll buy you a beer.
Unfortunately, I don't think I'll be able to make that one. I'm giving a presentation on how to use LinkedIn for small business owners to the Rosie Network
nice. Okay.
For military spouse and veteran entrepreneurs that are getting started with their business ideas.
Yeah, that's important.
I'm hosting a workshop for them.
Good.
But that'll be something I invite people to. Hey, if you're looking to use LinkedIn in a unique way, come check out that presentation, right? So it doesn't have to be your thing, but to keep track of either online or offline events. Usually it's going to be some sort of event to invite somebody to. Have that as part of your database and just throw it out there to people. Hey, you might be interested in this.
Hey, we had a comment pop up. What was the comment?
Yeah, it was just saying that they like the idea of having trying to get out of a meeting a yes or a no rather than kind of a maybe.
Yeah, right. No, I agree. And give me a definitive one way or the other, but the middle ground can be confusing, at times for sure. So,
right.
Thanks for listening.
That's hard to get. It's hard to get sometimes, but that should be.
That's a good goal
as you're kind of looking through it. But
all right.
Well, cool, Mike. Well, I think we went through a lot.
Man, you and I can burn up 45 minutes in a hurry, right?
Imagine the car ride up to Annapolis.
Yeah, well, Scott and I talked for 3.5 hours straight or whatever it was. So solving all the world's problems. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, well, it's a pleasure connecting with you again, sir. So I hope you have a productive rest of your week. So.
Yes, sir. No, it's got packed. I did you ever heard of High Rocks? It's a fitness competition.
Oh my gosh.
And I did that last weekend. So I'm still pretty sore. It's a running and it's a CrossFit style competition.
Oh my gosh.
So I did that with a young Naval Academy guy. He's a
really?
23-year-old and I'm 46. But I kept up with him. But
good for you. Good for you.
So I'm kind of recovering from that. But
Secretary of War, right? He would be Secretary Hegseth would be right there patting you on the back, right? PT every single day. There you go.
doesn't seem too weird that we're supposed to be in shape in the military. So,
not too far out there of a concept, I guess, right? So,
but Steve, thanks for listening. Appreciate it.
Listen, Steve. All right. Well, awesome. Well, Scott, again, thanks for hosting, man, and we'll look forward to. And for the listeners out there, if you guys got anything that you want us, Scott and I, to talk about, let us know. Right? We will be happy to have you on, discuss a topic, or you can shoot a topic to us, and we're happy to take a turn on it. Right? So,
just to answer and shoot his question real quick, yeah, we're going to be the conversation's geared towards small business owners and independent consultants looking to build their business, but it's all the same stuff. Like, why not, if you're retiring out of the military or getting out of the military, you're looking for, or if you're just anybody looking for a job, I always say, treat yourself as a one-person business who's looking for a client. Maybe that client happens to be a W-2 employer, right? But that should also, make you realize, like, keep your doors open, because if there's other opportunities that pop up, for other sources of income, maybe you don't want to only be tied to one source. And that's where continuing to network and grow your skill sets, come in. So,
and in fact, for the listeners, if you will go to the military blueprint retirement, I guess, repository of previous episodes. In fact, Scott, I'm losing track, but some weeks ago, Scott and I did a series on LinkedIn, the establishment of a LinkedIn profile, and we did a lot of discussions on the various different sections, how to set them up, how to optimize it.
Yeah.
And I know in that series, we also talked about utilization of social media and how to approach it. So I forget what it was. It was 5 or 6 episodes that we dedicated to just social media and the LinkedIn discussion. That may be worth your time to go back and listen to some of those previous episodes. We throw out some gems for sure. Scott's
they're on here on the I'm going to militaryretirementblueprint.com, and all the episodes on LinkedIn are right down here talking about social media right here on the front page. So
you'll probably get tired of listening to us, right? But I promise you, there are a few gems in each of those episodes that you'll find valuable. So.
Yeah.
All right, sir. Always a pleasure. Alrighty. Always a pleasure.
No, absolutely. Oh, and one other thing, the new feature here, we can put a QR code up. I don't know how that makes it easier on a podcast, but it was a feature. Yeah. It was a feature on the StreamYard tool. So what that'll take you to is our new military retirement income toolkit.
Oh, nice.
So
nice.
That is
yeah, I like it.
There we go.
Okay.
So in here, loaded up a bunch of videos that kind of explain how it works. But the idea is, whether you're looking to make the SPP decision, not only is it a calculator, but it helps educate you on kind of the things to think about when you're making that decision.
Yeah.
Or if you're doing more traditional retirement planning, hey, is my income going to last? How will my assets be large enough? How big's my nest egg need to be so I can retire at the lifestyle I want? What are the variables I can change? This calculator does that. And then both tools also compare it to our strategy we call the war chest at US Vet Wealth. So a lot more education where you can go through it yourself, or you can schedule a demo call with me and I'll go through it with you. But that's where that QR code and some of the links below go to.
I love it. Okay. Well, all right, sir. Sounds great.
Anything you need to announce besides next week's event?
No, we're working hard on getting the 2026 schedule out, right? And then end of October, Steve and I and Brian Herdlick will be in the Booz Allen Center for Innovation, which is the Helix up in Washington, D.C., where we will do our October cohort. And we're really excited about that. But that's all tracking, and then that'll quickly take us to the end of the year before we know it, right? And so we've got to get next year's schedule published and out there. So working on that right now. So,
All right.
okay, sir. Well,
Bye,
have a
Mike.
good one. Look forward to next time.
Thank you. That was my right hand, by the way. The screen's reversed, so I don't need yelled
All
at
good.
by
All
the.
good.
All right, take care.
All right.